It's all about creative risk.
There's success in sequels.
It's about the bankruptcy of ideas.
It's a business.
It's become self-destructive.
It's still about ideas.
Excuse-moi.
Peter Parr gives heart attacks.
Goober is aggressive.
Whoa!
Loquacious.
Hold on.
Overwhelming.
Give me a break.
Wrong, wrong, wrong.
On today's Sunday morning shootout, does management turmoil hurt the quality of studio films? Is there any action in sports movies? And we'll shoot it out with Kevin Smith.
I'm Peter Goober.
And I'm Peter Bart, and you're watching Shootout.
In Hollywood, you're only as good as your last picture or your last job, if you can hold it. And that leads us into the next shootout.
We know the corporate turmoil at Disney involving Michael Eisner has attracted an amazing amount of press. And of course, culminated in the shareholder meeting of a few weeks ago where 43% of the stockholders withdrew their support for Michael Eisner. Filmmaking depends on a certain continuity of vision. And when you have turmoil at the top, that continuity is going to be interrupted. And when you think of it, it isn't just Disney. I mean, whether Michael Eisner stays or goes, I mean, think you have Universal, which has been taken over by General Electric, and where the manners and mores of the company will undergo some change, right? You have Paramount, which is of its own volition, changing quite radically in terms of the kind of pictures they're making and in terms of the whole staff under Sherry Lansing. So throughout Hollywood, this is a moment of ferment. And I think what you're going to witness is a decline in the quality of product, potentially. The pictures being made are going to be hurt by the turmoil at the top.
Do you know what a red herring is?
No, tell me.
It's just what you just presented. The excuse that management upheaval and turmoil somehow is going to create mediocre movies. Disney's corporate chiefs may be under siege, may be in a titanic struggle, but they just finished a $3 billion box office year. Number one. All those other palaces of joy who are dancing at the ashes of potentially for Disney would love to have that year. And they're lined up a lot more. Nina Jacobson's lined up all her corporate people to support Pirates of the Caribbean 1, now 2 and 3. They have M. Night Shyamalan's new film with Adrian Brody. They have Princess Diaries sequel. They have a great year lined up. Really what happens is, in turmoil, great pictures can still emerge. And we see it not just with the turmoil of the company, but even in the turmoil of the pictures. When pictures themselves are turmoil, it cannot necessarily be the harbinger of a disaster.
That's a whole different issue.
It's the same turmoil.
I have great respect for the management team at Disney. But if you as a filmmaker presented a project to a specific executive, mindful of the fact that in all likelihood he wouldn't be here a year from now, would you be comfy? I don't think so.
I don't know if it's comfy, but I think that you're comfortable because you have a really good project and they survive these maelstroms. If you look at pictures and studios, you go, if in a studio far, far away, in a time long, long ago, was a company called Fox who was in a state of free fall, and along came Star Wars. If you look at United Artists...
Oh boy, is that a reach.
Well, you look at United Artists. I was there. United Artists did Rain Man, and there was management calamity going on. And Bob Shaye.
New Line has been an island of stability. I mean, Michael Lynn and Bob Shaye have been running New Line since its inception. It's like Pixar. I mean, the smaller entities who are scoring big time now represent a great continuity of vision. It's the big corporate entities that concern me because they're the ones who, as a result of potential upheaval, are going to have some problems with their product and are going to present a lot of mixed signals to Hollywood.
You know, I think there is a connection between corporate turmoil and picture turmoil. I really look at it.
You like turmoil.
Well, I think picture turmoil happens, and
you know
have
how
a collaborative.
to exploit it.
It's true. When you have a collaborative process and people that are energetic and passionate, you're going to have turmoil. All kinds of turmoil. Another Michael Eisner. I remember Michael Eisner when he ran Paramount with Barry Diller. And I remember a film that was filled with turmoil. The director, Adrian Lyne, hated the producers hated the studio didn't like the actors. Everybody was in turmoil. I was there. The reality was that Michael Eisner, 2 days before the film was to be released, called me at night at home and sold 25% of his interest in the film.
Right.
And
that's right.
The turmoil on the set was part of the reason.
But if you have a corporation, which is angst-ridden and everyone is at each other's throat, that can be a difficult problem for people making intellectual product.
You know, you make a good argument on this one part. You know,
Thank
I
you.
thought I could trap you to tying the two together, but you very neatly separated the two. I have to give the dog his due, and you're You're better than a dog on this one. You got the right side of the argument.
If you make the dog analogy, I'll say one thing about you as a producer. You rarely bark up the wrong tree.
Ooh. You know, Bart, is there any movie you wouldn't make?
Well, if I had the misfortune to be back at a studio as a result of this corporate turmoil we're talking about, I can tell you, I'd put a ban on sports movies. I mean, for one thing, sports movies are phony. I mean, you always know exactly how they're going to end. The good guy's going to win, big climax, everyone sheds a tear and applauds. And the studio knows how they're going to end, too, because it always is big business in the U.S., no business abroad.
Sports films aren't about the sport itself. They're the aesthetic equivalent of the human drama that goes into the sport. And they are a rich and absolutely powerful place to play out the human drama. The human drama. And if you make them like Miracle at the right price, you can make a handsome profit. And
Not one sports movie in the top 50 all-time grossers.
whoa, stop. How would you like to have Rocky 1, 2,
that's
3,
not a sports
4?
movie. Those
It's not a
aren't
sports
sports
movie.
movies.
There was more boxing in that than there is in most of the boxing matches in Las Vegas.
Saying Raging Bull is a sports movie.
But that's my point. It makes
but
the
not
point
even-
perfectly.
do you
It's the
consider-
canvas of the
do you
story.
consider Jerry Maguire a sports movie? It's about
Quasi.
these rich
Seabiscuit's
characters.
a sports movie.
Do you consider Bend It Like Beckham a sports
Our Chariots of Fire is a sports movie.
People running in their underwear?
Wait a minute. Now you're being mean about European sports movies.
Okay, but I'm saying, but you and I made a really lousy
Field
sports
of Dreams
movie together.
No, what?
called
No,
Young
hold
Blood.
on.
Young
What
Blood.
does
It was
Peter
your-
Bart, Rob Lowe, and Keanu Reeves have in common?
A lousy
Sport.
sports movie.
Here is the issue. Not how it ends, how it plays. Does it pull at your heart? Does it emotionally engage you? It's about what sports generate in a human being that they like to see in the cinematic equivalent in a movie.
The only reason you discuss this with passion is that Dirty Little Secret, Mandalay, of which you are the proprietor, owns all these sleazy little sports teams. So you're trying to amortize your investment by making a sports movie. True or not?
If you stop beating your wife, you'd answer yes or no.
So what's next?
You know, Kevin Smith, who's going to join us, has embarked on a very interesting journey. He's been making films at $2, $3, and $4 million, you know, in his basement and all over the country. And now he's going to embark on a $70 million epic with Harvey Weinstein as his guide. Pretty interesting.
For a guy whose company is called View Askew, I can't wait to see what he does to the Green Hornet.
Let's see.
Kevin, grab some bad coffee and come on over.
Bad water.
Better than water.
Not a coffee guy, but I'm here. Oh, thanks for having me.
You made some cut to your lead actress in this last film.
Some people assume that we cut her out of the movie, cut Jennifer Lopez. Really, once people see the movie, they get like, oh, her character was never in it that much. She dies, and that's what kicks our story off, really, because it's about him and the kid. Their backstory, their you know, the Bennifer saga, and even Gigli to a large degree, didn't really affect.
He pronounces it right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, I've been in this business for about 10 minutes now. It didn't really affect the cutting in the movie. The only time that their relationship encroached on our flick was when they didn't get married in real life. And I had a shot of them getting married in the movie. It's like 12 seconds, pan down a church, he comes out in a tux, she's in a dress, people whip rice at him and they kiss. But I just felt like you leave that in, right? And you risk the chuckle factor, where you got people in the audience who are going to start laughing because there they are doing what they couldn't do in real life. And then 5, 7 minutes later in the movie, she dies, and we need the people to be kind of emotionally invested, not be like snickering because of what they read in Us Weekly and stuff like that.
That's a very different picture than the material you were working on in the past. I mean, the same guy would go from Dogma to Jersey Girl is extraordinary. I mean, what? Dogma is kind of the rich man's Passion of the Christ. Is that the way you look at it?
I'm poor man's, really. You know, I mean, Dogma was kind of the anti-Passion of the Christ. It was kind of the long, boring evening of the Christ, really, because we just didn't focus on Jesus. We kind of focused on Catholicism. And Jesus was an incidental character who doesn't even show up in the movie except as a statue of a guy going like this. Right. The Buddy Christ, we call them. Mel Gibson made the Bloody Christ movie. Right. And boy, was he successful. Had I known that that's all it took, I would have thrown Jesus in my movie, beat the crap out of him as well.
You got hate mail, didn't you?
Yeah, lots of hate mail, 300,000 pieces of hate mail. It was weird, like, you know, because people have been asking, like, how do you identify with what Mel's going through? I'm like, I don't. You know, Mel Gibson made almost as much as we made in our entire theatrical run in his first day of release. The same people who are picketing our movie, you know, are buying blocks of tickets for his. So he, you know, I saw the cover of Entertainment Weekly before the movie came out was, can Mel Gibson survive the passion?
Yeah,
And it's
right.
like, I guess he's in danger of being crushed by the mountain of money that is going to fall on him, but I think he's going to do quite
Yeah,
well.
I think it's can those film executives who turn down the passion survive it. I mean, not Mel Gibson. I mean, his take may be between $250 and $300 million.
Right.
Which I would like to see as the budget of your next film.
Please.
Which
I would waste it. I would blow it all on Coke and horse. So don't give me that much money.
Have you told Harvey Weinstein that, what you're going to make Green Hornet for?
I did. I told him, look, just give me $70 million and we'll do the movie for 10, and the rest we'll just blow on a really great party. And, but being that Affleck's not in the picture, we probably won't have to spend that much on whores this time around.
I mean, let me ask the obvious question. That's
Yeah.
such a departure, once again. From
It is. If you look at the body of work in film, it's definitely like, how do you go from Clerks to Green Hornet
And you
in
didn't even
6
like comic
steps?
books. You
Well, that's the difference. The thing is, I'm a huge comic book fan. So that's kind of the converse of what you said. Right. Well done. Good research.
He's not well informed.
Yeah, very. Your finger's right on the pulse. No, I'm a huge comic book guy right there. Huge comic book guy. I've been reading forever. Wrote Daredevil for Marvel Comics for a while. Wrote Green Arrow at DC.
We did your own comic book company.
I own a comic book store in Red Bank, and we're actually opening in Red Bank, Jersey, and we're opening one on Westwood in June. So I'm a comic book guy, and most people who follow the film work only don't really know that. So for me, like, to make a comic book movie is kind of the logical progression if you know everything I've been involved with. If you just look at my filmography, it doesn't make much sense. But you look at all the stuff I've done, kind of makes a lot of sense.
So what's this picture going to be most like? Does it look a bit like the first Batman?
That's what I'm going for. I just want to make the first Batman again, because I didn't get to make it the first time, because,
That's
Tim Burton
because
made it.
he made it the
Right,
first time.
right.
Yeah,
So
he kind of messed it up.
But
So I
he-
hope
he
you do
ruined
better.
it.
But
quite
doesn't
frankly.
the
No, I love that movie. I'm a big
doesn't the
fan
fact
of
that you're starting down a comic book has a
Mm-hmm.
particular audience, but you have to be wider than that audience to make that film successful.
Yeah, particularly because like the highest selling comic book right now is like 150,000 copies, if you're lucky, per month.
And if only they came to the movie, that Harvey
make,
Weinstein
like,
would hunt you down and kill you.
Totally. It'd be like, you lied. You said people like comic books. No, it's I guess you got to make it more palatable to the mainstream. You have to. It can't be all inside. The beauty of Green Hornet is it's not like with Batman. You guys were kind of up against years and years of hardcore fanhood and history, and people telling you did stuff wrong and whatnot. Green Hornet, most people don't really know much about. He's been around since the 30s. He predates Batman. He stars a radio show. They did some black and white movie serials. There was the Van Williams, Bruce Lee TV show in the 60s, and there have been some comics, but there's not a rabid following for the characters, so there's more wiggle room, more leeway. As long as you get his look right with the mask and the hat, and you get Kato right as the Asian chauffeur, and you get the Black Beauty right, everything else is kind of up for grabs.
But do you want to get involved in picture making of that size? And all of a sudden you got huge crews and big ad budgets and stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's another world.
It is, but at the same time, it's like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime shot. Do I want to continue making movies like this? No, but in a career, I'm 10 years in on the career. This will be the 7th flick. I think it's nice to give it a shot, right? And in a world where they're like, hey, you do it. That's, I'm not going to be like, screw you. I'll go out and make another
So
talkie
let's
picture.
get back to Harvey for a minute. I mean, here's a guy who certainly has had a seminal influence
about
on
the
your
Green Hornet.
career. He's not the Green Hornet. But Harvey, it was rewarded by having books written about him.
Yeah.
About his temper.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, is this an appropriate description of a character that you review him in accordance with his temper?
I mean, if you do that, you're doing the man a disservice, because no man is one thing, right? And of course, yeah, the dude's throwing tantrums that people have heard about or read about, and if you've been in this business, I'm sure you've been entertained by them from time to time. But, if you're also in this business, that's not the sum total of the man. That's not the only thing he's done. Without Harvey, point blank, American cinema would not have been as interesting as it's been for the last 15 years. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy. And he loves cinema, loves flicks.
You
Yes.
did a Superman script.
Yes.
What did you learn about comic characters and writing a script from them that'll help you with Green Hornet?
I learned to never work with John Peters again.
It's funny. I've had the similar lesson.
Yeah, it happens. It happens to you. You know what it is? And it's not, and I'm not just tagging Peters for it. I just don't believe in filmmaking by committee. On that movie, I had to answer to John. I had to answer to the studio in the person of Lorenzo, who was actually a good guy, and I got along with really well. Jeanette Kahn, who ran DC. I had to answer to the fan base at large. I had to answer to myself, to my own tastes. and then eventually a director, and maybe a star. But then, you know, by the time they brought Tim Burton on, they did can my stuff. So that's too many cooks, way too many cooks.
At $200 million, they're looking for a lot of safety, a lot of assurance.
like,
and you're
you know,
right, but that's why when you make a film, a credit card film, and personal money, you get a lot more flexibility.
Absolutely, but it's not safety in numbers. It really is
but,
like that. The committee
everybody
thing
has
is
their
just
life on
far
the
too
line.
many
You can
cooks.
understand they have a viewpoint.
Yeah, but they never made the picture. So.
Absolutely, yeah, but that's the thing. Then why don't they direct it? You know, why?
They probably will.
Yeah, right. Eventually, it'll get to that. But to me, it's like pick a guy and go with the direction. You know, like give the person who you're handing the directorial reins to the faith and the credit that you're kind of heaping upon many. The onus is on that guy's shoulders. Let him do it.
Yeah, I think that's wise.
Right.
Unfortunately, when you have those kind of numbers, it brings up other kinds of bile from inside you, the angst inside you.
I'm
that
sure.
makes you
In
do
a world where you have to answer to like shareholders and stuff, yeah, everyone's kind of guarding the bottom line and looking out for their own asses and their job. But at the end of the day, remove the business aspect of it. You are still making a film.
But when you made a film like Clerks, and you were really virtually almost an NC-17 for language.
Yes, we were. We got it. We got slapped with an NC-17, and then we went in front of the appeals committee, and they overturned it, gave us an R. Happened again on Jersey Girl,
Did
this
you have
most
to
recent
take
film.
things out?
Didn't have to cut a thing.
Jersey Girl is going to get the same rating as
Jersey Girl
Passion?
initially got the
Both
same
are?
rating as Passion, yeah. Say initially, but then we went in front of
Then they crucified.
They crucified Affleck.
Right.
The same thing, you know. They, just as their lead was crucified, so was
wait a
ours.
minute,
But we
just-
went in front of the appeals committee, overturned it, got a PG-13 without a
So
cut.
just explaining your point of view. In other words, you didn't have to bargain, take this out or put this in.
No. That's why the MPA is really fair. They set up this appeals process where, you know, you go in front of a committee that's made up of. It's not MPA members this time. It's made up of half studio folk and half people that are actual theater owners. You know, members of NATO, National Association of Theater Owners. And they watch the movie, and then they decide whether it was, as the MPA said, an NC-17 in the case of Clerks, or as we were saying, an R in the case of Clerks. On Jersey Girl, it was R to PG-13. So we had guys who were on that jury as such. You guys are familiar with this process. Stand in front of them. You plead your case. The MPA pleads its case, why they feel it should be the rating they initially gave it. Then you all leave, and then those people kind of talk about it and change it or leave it accordingly. And in the case of Jersey Girl, they brought us down to what I felt was the right ratings, PG-13, without us having to make any cuts. And there were people coming out afterwards who were on the Clerks jury. There was one guy who was just like, my first jury was for Clerks, and now I'm doing this one. He's like, I kind of feel responsible for your career a little bit.
But the internet has been a pal of yours. You really focused on that.
Yeah.
Talk to not only your own fan base, but even just marketing the movies.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's going to become a more pervasive method for reaching an audience?
I think it depends. I don't think the studios really have learned quite how to harness the internet fan base, and they treat it like everything else, where they're just like throw some money at it, and I'm sure it'll pan out. And that's not really
You have to
the
continue
case.
your dialogue and conversation.
Absolutely,
with them,
it's not on a
otherwise you'll
one-by-one
disconnect,
basis.
right.
Like the internet is fantastic. It's really revolutionized the way
community.
people have seen trailers. You know, now you can just go to the internet and watch a trailer all the time because they throw them up there. So that's good for conveying that kind of stuff. Is great. In terms of trying to market a movie, some people have figured out clever ways to utilize the internet, like when they were doing AI. You know, I guess they had a pretty clever campaign.
Right.
The Blair Witch guys had a really great, clever campaign.
It didn't do it well in Blair Witch 2, though.
No, it didn't really pan out. It was kind of a misbegotten little sequel. But we have never really tried to market the movies on the internet. Basically, I just spend an inordinate amount of time on the internet, and we've built up a kind of little family community on our website, so those cats just go.
And they
so it's
become
good.
your
We don't-
early adopters and viral marketers for your films.
Absolutely, and built-in audience, like they're the bedrock. And then, you know, it's up to Miramax to market on top of that to the real world. You know, I've got these guys covered.
Well, Kevin, thanks for coming in and lending us your view askew. It's great to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
And good luck with Jersey Girl.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Amanda.
Good mania. Good mania.
Okay, so an old TV movie made into a big budget picture.
Well, and it's doing modestly well. Starsky and Hutch, sort of a cultural relic from the 70s. The movie opened pretty nicely, had a brief moment in the sun, cost about $60 million, somewhere in the 60s, and is going to slowly crawl up toward that mark in terms of domestic box office. Big hit? Not exactly, but it's a passable success. I mean, to me, the life kind of seeped out of it somewhere along the way, and it's a blah movie, like so many retreads from TV shows.
It's had good exit polls, really has good exit polls, and I think it'll creep closer to $80 million. And candidly, even though it had some critic discomfort, I think what you found is it was very playable, and I think it'll do extraordinarily well on DVD, because that kind of film does play very well there. What's interesting, what's really interesting, is that it had to be in the shadow of The Passion of the Christ. So it took a lot of audience and a lot of attention away from that film. It would have been #1. And unfortunately, I think that film overshadowed it. And secondly, the thing that's unique is it didn't get the African-American component, didn't really show up with Snoop Dogg. It just didn't show up. They got a sense that it wasn't really their film.
Didn't you find it was one of these pictures, though, that as it went along, you wondered, would there be enough material to fill the 90 minutes? It just seemed an artifice.
Well, I think that the humor was there. The question really is, you know, can you capture the element that was in the zeitgeist that made the television series successful now? I think they cast it well. I think it was a worthy shot by Rabinoff and Alan Horn.
So, bottom line, acceptable product, no big deal.
I would say not too much guts, not too much glory, and some gold. Now it's time for the Sunday morning emails. Joyce from Albany writes, what happened to the power of suggestion? There's been so much fuss about Bernardo Bertolucci's film Dreamers receiving an NC-17. Is it really necessary to show all?
Well, remember, Bernardo's the guy who gave us Last Tango, and he's always believed, unless you show it all, you don't tell it all. Think about that.
I guess that's a good one, you know?
So Matt from Los Angeles writes, did Cold Mountain get the cold shoulder? Because it was the union's way of sending the industry a message. No more runaway production.
No, I think it was just a cold film and felt a little repetitive of The English Patient. It looked like he had covered that ground one too many times.
I disagree with you on that. I like the picture a lot.
I did too, but I still feel that's what happened. And thank you for joining us. See you here next time. That's interesting.